Don't you forget to curb. Don't. I would never. I have to do this shit twice a week. Why do you think I would ever forget me? God. Anyway, hi, welcome. It's the it's the end of August. I'm doing one more of these. I think this has been like some of the longest like in a row of like, well, not in a row, but like just the longest month of like all really long Curblogs in a while. But I have another first time guest with me who actually I was just saying before we started recording, I haven't talked to in a while other than just like tweeting dumb bullshit at each other for the last few years. Would you like to introduce yourself, my good sir?
Yeah, hi, my name is Jonathan Griffiths. I do a webcomic called Beyond the Canopy.
Excellent.
And I am here right now. Nice to be here. I love the talk show setup that I did hastily that you can't see. It's a bunch of just cardboard boxes I'm sitting on, cardboard coffee cup.
And I'm not even there with him. Not even.
I have a cardboard cutout of Hannibal Buress next to me. I can pretend I'm on the Eric Andre show.
No,
just please don't start piping bugs like through my phone or something at me.
I'm not nearly. I don't think I'm nearly as insane or funny as Eric Andre, but I appreciate the comparison nonetheless. John is also actually from back in. Well, are you in New York or I know you're on the west?
I'm still in New York. I'm
okay.
Upstate.
John's from back in New York, and also he is also a graduate. I think you were a year ahead of me from the School of Visual Arts.
2009.
Oh, the 2 years ahead. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
My math is bad. So the reason I brought Mr. Jonathan on, I actually was considering a few different people for this particular topic, but because he had just recently launched his Patreon, and I've been following his webcomic Beyond the Canopy for a few years now, which we'll get into the whole origins of it and everything in a little bit. But this question for this appropriate topic was suggested over Tumblr by the Pick Nelson. This is actually a long time ago, I think, by now. Hey, Chris, do you have any advice for someone that creates a webcomic or just art in general on Tumblr and wants to be seen or whatever? So, so to start off with, obviously this isn't going to be just an interview, but I would like to know, because actually I don't even know the full story of how did Beyond the Canopy, which we've been doing for how many years now? How did it start, and what's the whole kind of origin story?
I started actually drawing it at SVA for my senior project in 2008. But
I remember that.
I really started like with the characters and stuff back in Jesus Christ, this is delving into some stuff. But started on like Sonic the Hedgehog fan forums back in. It always comes back to Sonic. He's a curse.
Was this also was this Jonathan Gray's point of origin too, with you guys meeting each other? Oh, of course.
Yeah. That's where I met John Gray, who used to work on Sonic the Hedgehog for Archie. But anyway, I posted on the Sonic Foundation, which was a message board back in 1998 or so, and. I think I was the only person on there who everyone else had, like their typical avatars were like multicolored Sonics or whatever. But I just had a character named Grellas who was just a dude with a bag over his head. Mm-hmm. And I started drawing like small comics with Grellas and stuff, but they never really went anywhere. It was all just like slice of life crap. I think there was one I drew back in high school that had to do with like getting school supplies or some crap, and there were all these other characters that, the kind of stuff you'd make when you're like sophomore, freshman in high school, and you think it's like a, wacky monkey cheese stuff. Like there was a Skippy the Disgruntled Christmas Elf, Pepe the Cheese Weasel.
Everybody's favorites.
Characters that I shoved into a crypt as soon as I could because I'd never want to see them again. But I'm trying to think of. Glenn actually got the main character Beyond the Canopy is Glenn, who's this little forest kid with a leaf on his head. He actually got his start a lot earlier. When as a kid, I used to do a lot of stick figure comics, and they were all like hyper violent stuff. And we used to chomp the flavor off a lot of shows. Like my brother drew a comic called Pinky and Brain, who were a literal brain and disembodied Pinky who just died constantly. This is all like 7 or 8 year old. But
of course.
There was like a shy guy in a cape that I drew. His name was Mr. Crappy, and I don't know how I came up with this. Like his whole thing was he was part lemming, so he'd just jump off stuff because I thought that was hilarious at the time. And like around high school, I started drawing him again, not as a shy guy, but as a little guy in a green hood, and that eventually evolved into Glenn somehow.
Okay.
It's a weird jump going from ripping off Mario to a little tree boy. So
Well, it's not that weird because I think it's fair to say that like the Nintendo, a lot of the bright colored Nintendo IP's influence on Beyond the Canopy's look and feel, I think, is pretty evident, which is cool. So I'm not super surprised by that. But
oh yeah, I think a lot of us were really inspired by that stuff growing up. Obviously, like you were mentioning, our friend John Gray earlier, he obviously veered more towards Sega stuff. Whereas
yeah.
I didn't get a Sega till like much later, so it was mostly Nintendo growing up for me.
Right. Yeah. Same with me.
Yeah.
So when did you start? And this will be more relevant to like the topic itself. When did you start? Obviously you had I do remember this was your thesis project as well. Which for those of you who don't know, because I've talked a lot about the animation major for SVA. I just had a little brain fart there. But for the cartooning and illustration major, which John, as well as Mike Lucas and Steve Yurko, who we've had on the show a few times, for them, year 3, as opposed to year 4 with me, where I did my thesis film, which was Balancing Act. Year 3 is thesis year for the cartooning illustration majors, and then year 4 is all focused on making a portfolio so that they can actually get a job as soon as they're done with college. Which is a whole nother to do. But I do remember, because since you were still in school and we were seeing you on a constant basis at after school clubs and hangouts and shit, I remember seeing the early days of Beyond the Canopy when you were working on it. What was kind of did you kind of use your thesis project as kind of like the springboard to like, okay, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to dive right into doing this and then do this as a series and continually updating? Like, what was kind of the birth of having it as a consistent series?
I mean, you basically nailed it. Becky Clunan was our senior thesis teacher, and she's great, by the way. But her whole syllabus, basically, or lack thereof, was to just basically get a comic going, get like a website up for it. She was basically trying to show us how to get a comic up like on the internet. So I just figured, I've had this idea bounce around my head a while, so I'll just do this, and it'll be something I can continue like after I graduate, because I didn't have any other plans at the time. So.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, I lost it. So yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say see, what's kind of cool now is because there are very few webcomics that I follow on a consistent basis, Beyond the Canopy being one of them. It's kind of funny to me to see how things have changed, because I think, and actually Homestar Runner did a great Strong Bad Email cartoon about this one time, about how I think a lot of people's perception of webcomics for a time, because of a lot of what the most popular ones was they were about like, how did Strong Bad describe it as like, they're about gamer geeks, gamer nerds, nerd dorks, and elves. Which, because when you have like Penny Arcade and Control Alt Delete and shit like that, and even to an extent, VG Cats. Although I think on that note, the reason that VG Cats and also Fanboys Online, the two of those series by the two Scotts.
Scott
Ramseymer and Scott.
Crudman, I believe.
Yes, Crudman. Thank you.
Is it Crudman?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the reason that their comics actually grew on to be really popular was not necessarily because of the games that they were spoofing. Oh, not that those aren't funny too, but I think like in VG Cat's case, because of the cat characters, which are his own characters, and especially in the case of Fanboys, the three friends who it's been a while since I've read Fanboys. Sorry, Scott, if you hear this, but both Scotts. But either way, point is, I think that there was kind of, and also, of course, Sprite Comics, which I totally didn't do any of those back in the day.
No, I didn't. Don't pay attention to the box I'm kicking to the side.
Oh shit! I just gotta hide those JPEGs.
A bunch of like Sigma sprites just fall out. Oh god, get it away!
Bunch of my fucking Kirbyfer as a white Kirby with a Link Hat sprite. Just shit. Oh, no, that's.
Oh my god.
That's it. Everybody knows that origin story by this point. But nonetheless, I think that things have changed a lot now. Where like there's such a massive, array of different types of like genres with webcomics, because I think what's really cool is, I mean, for one thing, as I'm sure you know, with animation, we do live in a time where now with the advent of like Flash and Toon Boom and stuff, people can just make stuff and put it out there. But animation takes a very, very long time to do. And comics are a much, I think this is fair for me to say, are a much easier medium to put out on a constant basis. Because, like, a lot of you guys will put out, like, a couple pages a week. Or, now especially where you have stuff like Patreon and, like, donation incentives and stuff, people can put out more pages. And a lot of people, this is their living. So it's changed. And the fact that there's so many different kinds of web comics out there, funnier kind of gaggy stuff, and then stuff that has like a consistent plot, following throughout the course. I've been following Beyond the Canopy for years now, and now in the current point, there's some serious shit happening in the world I'm noticing. Which is kinda cool.
It's about to ramp up a little bit more.
Well, when you started, and I guess as you were kind of going through and you were going through these different arcs, and obviously on the side you were also publishing them in physical copies, which we'll get into later. So what was kind of your like game plan? This is kind of in a way, this is like the answer to the advice on this and everything. What was your game plan in terms of like going about just like doing pages and etc., like keeping up a schedule and everything? What was kind of like your mindset going into it?
I just basically would sit down and do the stuff. I didn't really have too much like in terms of like actual process. Like I've had like kind of a rough outline of everything down for the story since the beginning, but I kind of leave room to change things where I need to if it's not working, which can always lead to roadblocks in terms of getting stuff done. But I mostly just it's. For me, I just figured, just sit down and do this. I'm not trying to worry if it's perfect or anything. Just make sure it's consistent, I guess.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, too, is like, so kind of to share in the bit about consistency, something I was worried about in the case of like when I was doing Tome in the early days is I was worried that I wasn't going to grow that much as an artist in terms of like my draftsmanship. Because of trying to make everything look consistent over the course of time. But I think that that's kind of something that all artists, and especially people who are doing like comic series, like, you look at any Shonen Jump artist, and if you look at like One Piece Volume 1 compared to, like anything from recently, not to say that it's night and day, but you can tell that Oda's art has grown a lot. Do you ever look back in like the early chapters of Beyond the Canopy, and do you ever have that like compulsive like, oh god, I should redo that or something like that, or do you just kind of leave it as it is?
I try not to look at them when I can, honestly, but I mean, like, I wouldn't discourage people from going back and like correcting stuff. Like, there's a few things I want to go back and like tweak here and there, but it's nothing like I'm not gonna sit there and like pour through the pages and erase like everything that seems like a mistake to me, because that's part of growing as an artist, is you just acknowledge that some of your older stuff is going to look like crud and just move on.
Yeah, like this is the stage that I was at the time that I did this, and I just kind of have to move on.
Yeah.
There was I can't remember what the topic was, but there was something I did. I think it might have been earlier this year. I did a topic about like planning your storytelling. And having like enough of a roadmap to go in and everything. I haven't seen this in a while, thankfully, but a trend that I did notice here and there was something where, was where people would be like, oh, and now I hate this comic, and I want to go back and redo it from the beginning, and they'll keep like rebooting it like over and over and over and over until like they're finally satisfied with it, which I can understand, because I mean that's the artist's plight of like when we're never satisfied or whatever with our work at different points.
Yeah.
But you've managed, in the years you've been doing it, you've managed to kind of fight off that sort of, at least as far as I know, as evidenced by it's still going.
For me, if I ever have anything like that, it's usually like in that moment where I'm drawing something and it just like nothing looks right, I'll just keep erasing it. But usually I just back away and come back to it later.
Right.
So for me, it's more of a short-term thing than like a long-term thing looking back.
Okay. So I guess when we've been through a couple different like arcs in Beyond the Canopy by this point. How many chapters actually have there been at this point?
Right now it's on chapter 10, which has been going on a while because of all the. I was on hiatus for like half a year because I was doing a bunch of freelance stuff, but Yeah, it's chapter 10 right now. It should be ending soon. I'm like right at the tail end of it.
Okay, yeah, it's gone for I think at least 100 pages from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, this one's I think the longest chapter so far, mostly because it's basically this chapter's been a lot of world building stuff that I want to get set up now, so I'm not like breaking up pacing later.
Right. Yeah, there's the I guess without spoiling too much, there's the Grand Council of important figurehead characters meeting at the moment, kind of thing, which is exciting.
Can't have any sort of a fantasy comic without that. I mean,
no, well, it's cool because like what I like about Beyond the Canopy is that the whole world and all the different again, this isn't to get too spoilery, but there's a lot of different like regions that are very clearly inspired by different things and and have a lot of really cool kind of variants to them and the characters that come with them and everything. Obviously, Glenn being at the forefront is from a more like naturalistic, like plant themed kind of world. And his life is being intertwined with all of these other crazy, scary things from the outside world, which is pretty cool. So I guess actually this is something I'm curious about for myself too, because I've had to contend with this while working on Tome. So you were talking about when you're planning out the arcs and everything, and you have kind of a roadmap of what the whole story is going to be like. What are some of the things that you do leave open intentionally so that when you get up to doing them, it's like, oh, well, now that I've been inspired by this more recent thing, I can integrate some stuff like this into my story and try these kind of things. What are some stuff, if you have like examples maybe that have kind of changed things later on?
I mean, mostly what I do is I just keep like a general idea of the beats, because like I'm honestly really, really bad at organizing my thoughts. I've got, I think, like 3 different Word files with all these like defunct plot maps and stuff. And and there's like little bits mixed in there that I've pulled from time to time. I think the most recent example I can think of something that was like spur of the moment. This wasn't inspired by anything, but the character Dewey, the moth girl, was actually, I think I came up with her like a day or two before the page she actually premiered on. Like, she wasn't supposed to be there at all originally, but I thought just Glenn and Professor Clockwise by themselves would be kind of dry. So I wanted to get like a bit more like comedic stuff in there. So
okay,
and plus I wanted to actually start introducing like the other races before I got to the council stuff. So I figured I'll draw one of the Strato-Sylphs in now.
And it's cool because I still see, like, I guess as an example of that, that's, okay, what lends itself well to the story right now? Okay, a little bit more of an interesting character dynamic in terms of who is at the forefront of the story in these pages. Yeah. So, and that's actually really cool. Like, I haven't done something like that in a very long time, since, like, the old TTA series where I had a new character just like, I know he's here and he's part of the gang or whatever. But it's lent itself well because I think a lot of people like her, I've noticed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I
I've
like
gotten
her.
Yeah, I remember the drawing you did.
Yeah, it was fun. I think Zito drew her as well, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So as far as I guess to say to people who are thinking about starting a webcomic and maintaining it, whether it's through their own website or updating it on their Tumblr pages or whatever, what are some suggestions, some advice, some tips of the trade that you would give to anybody who wants to start? Any like pitfalls or things that they should keep in mind ahead of time before diving right into it or anything like that?
Well, first, when you're etching out the blood pentagram, make sure you know which dark deity you're trying to channel.
You have to be specific, because then they'll be like, okay, I'm going to make you good at dancing, not webcomicking. Shit!
Yeah, or you might end up with locusts for blood. That's a whole other set of things. But no, I would say, just like, don't stress too much about like getting it up there and getting it perfect, because like especially if it's your first thing, just do it and see what happens with it. I would suggest don't start off with something with a huge scope, if only because like you will run into a lot of fatigue after a while. Like I get days where I don't want to work on this thing because it's like the only thing I'm thinking about, and that's why just occasionally I'll just branch off and like draw other stuff or whatever, because it's you run into a serious problem with burning yourself out.
Oh yeah.
And that's the other thing, like in keeping a consistent update schedule, like also make sure you're not like actually physically burning yourself out. Don't just like I go to the try to go to the gym at least like 3 times a week, because it helps, because like staying cooped up in a room all day just working on comics staring at a screen is not good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and on a further note, I mean, I was often talking about this recently, but it's like you gotta have a life outside of your work too, so you can have things to draw off of for experiences.
And also be sure to rest your wrists, because I ran into this problem, and I know a lot of friends and like colleagues that I know have. Back when I was working on the Paradox Space stuff for Homestuck, I took on the task of helping to pencil and ink a 51-page story, and that's basically all I did for a couple months, and I started to get wrist pains, and had to get a brace, which I still wear occasionally, but like I was getting like debilitating problems with my wrist, like could barely draw and stuff.
Actually, I've kind of this just came up because I've actually been thinking about this a little bit lately, like for myself too, and I feel like in comics maybe it's even more common. Do you or anybody you know, like if it gets like bad, have you ever like been to like a chiropractor or some kind of like specialist to like get your wrists or arms like fixed up if like you get really fucked up or something?
I mean, I think it's always an option. I know my friend Zach Morrison, who does Paranatural, which is also a good comic that everyone should be reading. He's been like he's having like some wrist issues too, like from time to time, and he actually, I think, a while ago linked to a set of wrist exercises you can just do by yourself that were actually helping him a lot.
Okay.
Like it's always good, like, you know, if you think it's getting really bad, to see a doctor, you know, just in case. Like that's what I did, and he prescribed me with one of those like braces for carpal tunnel.
Right.
But stretching and everything definitely does help. I was doing some of that for a while too, and you can definitely see the difference.
Yeah, which I would also imagine that going to the gym thing is important about. So.
Oh yeah, but also you need to watch it with that too, because I had a time where I went too hard on one of the machines and I screwed up my my non-dominant wrist for a good while.
Yeesh. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Actually, getting back to so I didn't even think to mention that yes, John has also worked on Homestuck in various capacities. You've also done a lot of the album cover and song cover artwork on the Bandcamp page, which is awesome.
Did I?
Oh, I did. Yeah, didn't you? Do? Or am I thinking? No. Maybe did Hani do that, or did you?
Hani did
too?
one. I don't remember if I did one or not. I've done like calendar work for them.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm sorry. I knew it was some kind of merchandise related thing that you did some work on.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
But on the note of like when you have like a long term, like a freelance job or something, so how do you balance not just like, you know, updating your own work in the midst of having to do, you know, like a job that'll allow you to pay your fucking rent, but like also keeping yourself stable and healthy in the midst of all that? What's kind of your way of like keeping yourself balanced with doing all those things?
Well, God, when I was doing that 51-page story I mentioned, I just kind of put everything beyond the canopy related on hold, because the deadline on that was, I only had like a couple months to to do like 51 pages, where I was let's see, Zach actually did the pencils for like the first, I want to say he did like the first 12 and then the last 2, and then I had to do like the pencils for like the whole middle section off his thumbs. So I was doing the majority of the penciling and inking for those 50-something pages. So that was pretty intensive, and honestly, I was working myself pretty hard on those when I probably shouldn't have been.
Out of curiosity, too, a little side note: was that traditional inking or was that digitally?
That's all digital. I do it all digital now because really I just don't feel like paying for a Bristol board right now. Like it would take too long for the ink to dry, which made it harder for me to get pages done on time, and like stuff takes up a lot of space. And I had an incident where I accidentally left one of my pages underneath a table I used to have in here, and my dog came in here, and there was like a thunderstorm or something, and he freaks out when there's thunder, and he went right on top of the page and just started like ripping it apart. So I'd rather not leave any more.
God.
I was able to tape it back together fairly well, but that was not fun.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh shit! Now I've forgotten what I was going to say next. What's your favorite movie? No. I guess so. Well, because I mean, yeah, obviously, you know, you're not gonna be able to make. Oh, now I remember. So you're not gonna be able to make a living doing a webcomic, like, or rather, just any of your own stuff immediately, necessarily.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of in the midst of that, well, actually, do you do I'm not even sure. Do you do very many like conventions, like Artist Alley and stuff like that, or
I have not done. You mean like anime conventions?
just any
Or
cons
just
in general, like, like Comic Con and stuff?
God, the only con I've gotten into this year, well, I didn't actually get into. My friend Lee Davis, she got a table. Was a TCAF, and everything else I've applied to this year, I've either been rejected or the convention just exploded. Like I applied it to Patacon, and I don't know what happened, but they canceled the convention because I guess something wasn't working out.
Oh,
So
jeez.
yeah. So I honestly haven't really had much luck with conventions this year.
Okay. Well, either way, though, I mean, like, I guess in terms of specifically, like, being able to make money on the side of also producing your own work, because I think that what I want to lead into is then, doing stuff like Patreon and et cetera, where you can get to a point where the majority of your living is your own stuff. What are some suggestions you have to people who are like, because I think this also tackles the question specifically about when you're putting your art out there to places like Tumblr or like DeviantArt or whatever. What are some things that you would do for like, putting yourself out there to like do freelance or like get jobs and things and be able to make a living, in addition to growing your brand, as it were, with your own original work?
God, that's honestly something I still kind of struggle with. So I can't really think of too much in general off the top of my head. Like it's just important, like to get your stuff out there, and like a lot of it comes down to luck. Unfortunately, it's
Well, actually,
hard.
here's a question, because I know that a lot of folks from SVA have been connected with the Homestuck like group for a while, but like how did you get working on that series?
Oh, actually, I guess well, Toby Fox, who obviously did Undertale. Yeah, I think he showed my comic to Hussey's girlfriend at the time, or she found it on her own. She was a big fan of it, and that's just kind of how I got into the folder.
Okay.
So it was kind of more of a happenstance thing, I guess.
Okay. But it was specifically because they liked your work on Beyond the Canopy already.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good, because then that, is proving that you can do the work in and of itself. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you also feel like webcomics can actually kind of even work as a portfolio for yourself, like when you're looking for other jobs and things?
I mean, I think it can help if you're showing a strong sense of like perspective and anatomy in those pages, and like show that you can do dynamic panel layouts and stuff. It's definitely a help. I've honestly personally never done a portfolio review, but I'm sure I've heard they can get kind of rough. But
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't hurt. Sometimes you have to be torn down to build yourself back up better. Harder, better, faster, stronger.
The reason I'm curious about that too is because, like, for a while I had always thought that, like, what I had been doing through college, where I was like making a lot of my own my own like productions and stuff, was a good kind of like stand-in for a portfolio to show this is what I'm capable of. But as I'm finding out for the animation industry, it is a lot more about specific skills and things, which is why that's kind of been more of what I've been focusing on this year. But for comics, I feel like in the case of comics, a lot of like not necessarily like a portfolio, but like the actual work in terms of like, hey, here is a comic that I worked on, or a comic that I made myself, or whatever. Like that in and of itself seems to be one of the biggest like proof to people that, hey, oh, this person's capable. Okay, let's hire them. Like for like people getting jobs. Because I won't lie and pretend like I know a whole lot about how the comics industry works. My knowledge is very limited to what I know from like you guys and like Mike and Steve and guys like that. But has that been something that you've noticed, or like is that stuff that's worth keeping in mind, or?
I mean, trying to think. Sorry, give me the gist of that one more time. I kind of lost it.
Sorry. No, I'm going off into fucking fairyland with my monologues. Do you think that creating a webcomic, whether it's something like like a long-lasting series, or even something that's kind of short form, like you were kind of suggesting, not to dive into doing long-form stuff right away, do you feel that those can serve as kind of like good stand-ins for portfolios, for if like you're putting yourself out there for jobs, or if like people notice your work or whatever, like if for people to get hired to do other comic stuff? Do you think that helps?
I mean, I think it can. Like I said, once again, a lot of that can come down to luck. I'm pretty sure Noelle Stevenson, who did Nimona, didn't she first get noticed from some it was like some Lord of the Rings drawings she did or something. I don't have like the sources in front of me right now.
I don't even know about that one.
Oh really? Well she worked on Wander Over Yonder also.
Okay.
Doing some of the stuff on there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she first got noticed by doing some like Lord of the Rings fan art stuff. Like don't quote me exactly on that because my memory's a bit foggy on it. But like it's hard to tell like what will get your work noticed a lot of the time. Like you can put out like really nice, beautiful pages or whatever, and people may not notice immediately. Whereas if you like do like a 5-second piece of fan art of a Pokemon or something, that's
go get a billion notes on Tumblr.
Yeah.
And that's all. I mean, let's be honest. That's always been kind of a thing. That's not even a Tumblr exclusive thing. I mean, DeviantArt.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's like anything. It's why you have like pop art and all that stuff because it's immediately recognizable icons that people are going to gravitate towards.
Yeah. Although at that same point, like, do you think also that, like, I guess in the note of specifically comics, do you think that fan art also does help in a way, or do you think that original stuff is more helpful?
Well, like I was just saying with Noelle Stevenson, like fan art obviously can help you get noticed. I think it's good to have a balance of both. I know there's some people that make their whole careers off just doing fan art, and that's cool and all.
Well, like especially if they're doing conventions too.
Yeah. And like me personally, I like to like have a balance of stuff. But if that's what you're making a living off of, you do you. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny enough when you were talking about Noelle. Like, did she get hired on the series, or like was there a comic for?
For Wander Over Yonder.
Yeah.
She was like, God, I know she did some of the writing and I think some of the storyboarding and stuff. Like I never watched Wander Over Yonder.
Oh, but it was for the show though. It wasn't for.
Yeah.
Oh,
she worked on the actual show. I know that much.
Because I was gonna say that's something I've picked up on, especially in recent years, is a lot of people who are working in storyboarding now for the animation business are people who started in comics.
Yeah. Actually, Nick Sumida, one of my friends from SVA, he was boarding for Ugly Americans for a while, and then he's on oh my God, I can't remember. He's on a show on Nickelodeon. I'm sorry, Nick, I can't remember what the name of the show is. It's the one with the Harvey Beaks. That's it. It's Harvey Beaks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I think in that case they specifically were looking for like new up and comers that were like comic artists and animators and things like that. Yeah, that was really cool. I think also Steven Universe has a few different.
Yeah, Lamar Abrams was he did comics like Remake and stuff. And Lauren Zook did Penny and Rachel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Comic.
And then I think Paul Villico, he was an animation major, but I think he's recently started working on the show too. But yeah, so I think there's also a lot that comes from that too. I guess I'm trying to think of what else. Are there any other? We've said a lot as it is, but do you have any other kind of like general sort of things that would be good for people to keep in mind, like going into it or like while maintaining it or anything, just like general kind of things that you've picked up like from doing it for the past several years?
I mean, one of the obvious things is just don't get discouraged by rejection because it's going to happen a lot. Like be it conventions or whatever. Just keep trying, but like take care of yourself while you're doing it. Like don't like basically beat your head against the wall trying to get into the stuff if it's having a detrimental effect on everything else for you.
Mm-hmm.
So like just I guess what I'm saying is just like keep a balance where you're trying to scale that mountain, but it's like climbing Mount Everest. Don't try to run up the damn thing in nothing but swim trunks or something.
Yeah.
I guess to use a roundabout analogy that doesn't make any sense.
Or do. I mean, if you're daring, sure, why not?
I mean, yeah, sure. If you want to be a Steve-O or something, go for it.
God. I can feel the gap in my teeth already forming from doing that. I was gonna, Brad, go back to earlier something you mentioned before, where like maybe don't jump straight into doing like a giant One Piece sized story with a billion chapters or whatever. Because obviously you had been doing a lot of shorter form stuff before you jumped into doing Beyond the Canopy. For people who have never done comics at all, would you suggest maybe like trying something short form, a little bit easier, like
Yeah.
one shots and things? Okay. Um,
I think it's a.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
No, good.
No, I was just gonna say like it's not gonna take you like a super long time, and it's good exercise, and it's something to just have fun with.
Like actually, even when you were doing, like, did you have to do like short form stuff like in the earlier years of SVA, like before obviously your thesis here? Did you have to do like 18 pages or whatever, like depending like stuff like that, or?
Yeah, like sophomore year, freshman year is not even worth talking about because I don't know if you had the same experience I had freshman year, but freshman year at SVA is like cattle going into a slaughterhouse.
Really?
Where it's just 6-hour foundation classes.
Oh yeah, well that is incredibly important though, but
they are important, but
they're
I
brutal.
was coming off a really bad time. I transferred to SVA mid-semester freshman year. And
Oh,
I was
God.
coming off like a really bad time in my life, and like I was commuting to all those classes, and it just strung me out so bad. But
Oh Lord.
that was just all the painting and stuff. But getting to sophomore year, where we were finally doing comics work, like we had God, I can't remember the name of the class, but we had a couple classes where just basically you would be given like something small to focus on, usually 2 to 3 pages or whatever, or like trying to think of specific examples. It's been a long while, but like we had to do a story like they would give us like a theme, like a tearjerker or like a medical or something, and just like make something that relates to that theme, or just like do 6 pages of whatever you want, but just wrap it up within those 6 pages. We actually had a class senior year that focused on more experimental forms of comics. That come out of like Europe, they're called Olipo, I believe is the word, and it would be like weird stuff like doing a comic based on a poetic form. Like I did one based on a round, where basically like the whole premise I did for that comic was just there was like some criminal going into a warehouse and he'd get shot by a cop who would then discover he didn't shoot the right guy, and the cop like leaves, and then like I would just repeat those same events for like a couple pages where like some other guy would come in and get shot, and there'd just be a pile of bodies growing, but just like do weirder stuff with it each time. Where it ended up with there was a clown at some point, and it ended up with like an alien coming down, and like I reversed it at the end with instead of the security guard like shooting the alien shot the security guard and just like picked up his hat and walked off with it. It's hard to really explain that comic unless you see it, but
can we see that somewhere? Because I'd like to see that, please.
God, I think I have it uploaded somewhere. I'll send it to you later.
Okay, I'll have that in the fucking description along with the other stuff.
But yeah, basically they would just give us like warm-up stuff. Junior year was the thesis, obviously, and that's where they had us doing something longer form, where it was 16 pages, and the theme that year was kings and queens, so they just had us pick like either a literal or figurative historical a figure. Oh God, I can't talk right now. A historical figure that was either literally or figuratively a king.
Okay.
Like I did Joshua Norton, who was the self-proclaimed Emperor of California, and trying to think. I can't remember who the other people in my class did right now.
Oh, actually, here's a question. Because I think I got confused. So did you not do any of the early Beyond the Canopy stuff until, was it senior year then? Like when you were doing the
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
I used to do. I honestly only did like 1 or 2 comics of that before senior year, back in like 2005 or so. Before I was in SCAD for a semester. I did some of the stuff then.
Okay.
But before senior year at SBA, I didn't really try to commit to anything fully.
Gotcha. Okay. Actually, because on that same kind of note, so with the 4th year being focused on specifically portfolio stuff, in addition to starting Beyond the Canopy, was that the year that you made the website and started like having it uploaded in sequence and everything too, or was that not till after college?
No. We did do that. Becky was showing us like how to set up like a WordPress site and everything, which was extremely helpful.
Okay.
In like because she knew that unlike some of the other teachers there that web stuff would be important. Mm-hmm. So she wanted to like help us get a foot in the door there, just getting stuff set up, figuring out like how to upload it and everything.
So in addition to that, did you also do other kind of like non-related Beyond the Canopy stuff, like specifically to add to your portfolio? And what kind of stuff did you do, if so?
I honestly don't remember. It's been a while because Becky's class was entirely focused on that. We had other classes on the side, but honestly, I don't think that I included any stuff from those in my. No, I did. We had I had a perspective class senior year that we did like a couple big perspective exercises, and I remember putting a couple of those in my portfolio too.
Okay, cool.
Which also I should backpedaling for when you were asking me about advice for people. Learn perspective, please. Like, just learn it.
Yeah. It's not incredibly fun, but it is also incredibly important.
Honestly, when you do it for a while, it starts to click, and like once you know the fundamentals, you can BS it a bit. Like I BS it a lot right now, but as long as you get like the fundamentals of knowing where a vanishing point is and everything, you can mess with it from time to time.
I still BS it to this day. All right, cool. Well, I guess that's a lot to go off of. I certainly hope that is helpful. I think it is. So I guess it better be
or
fucking.
Or I'm coming to all the listeners' houses and just like I'm gonna sit on their doorstep and just cry really loudly.
Be like, why couldn't I help you? Well, I guess to kind of conclude things, I want to give you a plug for not just your comic that we've been talking extensively about, but most recently, within this last month or so, you launched your Patreon, which is awesome. So would you like to talk about that a little bit?
I just got up my Patreon a week or so ago. It's patreon.com. I think it's /Greliz, Greliz, and right now I'm just offering standard stuff with access to like a news feed with behind the scenes stuff and a tier for I'm going to do like a monthly wallpaper thing that people vote on. I'm probably going to add more tiers later, but not until I start seeing some more activity on there. I don't want to commit to too much too soon on there and burn myself out. But it's patreon.com /Greliz. So check it out, I guess, and beyondthecanopy.com. Like Chris said, that's my comic.
For shiz. It's really cute. It's a lot of fun. Also, if you look, I won't even say where it is, but if you look really closely in one of the pages, you might see somebody familiar. Just saying. Which was like that was a long time ago too, wasn't it? That page.
Yeah, that was actually I think the first color page I did was the when I switched fully to color, not the earlier color sequences.
Of course. Awesome. But, it's up to chapter 10, and it's got it's up to 500 pages by this point, so there's plenty of material to go through.
You did not mention the puns, though.
Oh yes, it is notorious for how many fucking puns in
I'm very disappointed in you. You did not bring up Aurora Borealis.
Oh my god! In every character, in every location, in everything, every item, there's a fucking pun, and dear God Almighty.
Blame that on Douglas Adams and stuff.
They're all clever as shit, though, so I can't even.
Thank you.
But awesome. Well, Jonathan, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris.
Awesome. I guess that's going to wrap us up. So, in the comments below, if you have any other questions or other things to bring up, maybe even other suggestions if you have thought of anything that have to do with, starting a webcomic or just getting into comics and getting your work out there, whether you're a cartoonist or an illustrator or anything, leave a comment about that too as I burp in the middle of my sentence. Good.
Leave a comment about
me burping in the middle of my sentences, John.
Morty, you gotta learn proper etiquette.
Swear to God, I'm sure nobody's tired of that yet. And if you have future Cryptblot topic suggestions, perhaps comic related or otherwise, leave a comment about that too, and or hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, all the usual shit. That's it for me. That's it for Jonathan. Check out Beyond the Canopy, and we will catch you all later. Bye.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.
These people who are here for you. You have these people who will be your friends, who will truly be your friends, people that you can always depend on, people who will always be there for you. They are out there. Even if you haven't found them yet, I promise you that they are out there. I think that it's perfectly safe for me to say that. you know, even if it seems like maybe it's like, oh, nobody, you know, even if it like really, if you're in a point where it's that desperate, like, I really think just out there somewhere you'll find them. Even if you haven't yet, you will eventually. So that's about all I have to say. Yeah, thanks for listening to this one, everybody. And I guess in the comments below, I don't even know what to suggest of, like, you know, what you want to leave behind. But I guess, you know, maybe if you have anything else further to add in terms of advice to the person who asked this question, or to anybody else listening who might be still seeking, you know, any kind of input or anything. If you have anything you want to add to the question that maybe if I have time to respond to in the comments, anything like that. And, you know, or any examples you can give actually of, you know, you learning to be social and you know, opening up more and how, you know, that impacted your life and, you know, anything like that whatsoever that you want to share your thoughts with, please go right ahead. And as always, if you have future Curblog topic suggestions, maybe related to this or something completely different, you can leave a comment about that too, or hit me up on all the usual social media shit. But that's about it. So thank you all again. This was cool. I really enjoyed getting to do this one. These stream of consciousness Curblogs are a lot of fun, and I hope that they're helpful. I really do. Hope that, you know, these provide even just the most minor bit of advice that might be helpful to you all. So, but yeah, that's gonna do it. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.